Hi, I'm Neil McFadden. I'm a teacher, a parent, and I'm also somebody who plays video games. Have you ever heard that video games are bad for you, that they affect your performance at school, or that they corrupt our youth? Are these bogus, or are they legit concerns?
Growing up, I remember that there was always this prevailing feeling that video games were bad for you. If you played games, you would be wasting your time. You'd fail school. There also seems to be this idea that gamers are teenage boys who sit in their parents' basement playing video games all day, never going out.
Video games have been around a long time. Kids love them, but a lot of parents still aren't sure. What we are going to do is take a look at the facts and help people make informed and healthy choices about playing.
Video games have been around since the 1960s, with companies such as Atari publishing some of the first gaming consoles. This was followed up in the 1980s and 90s by companies such as Nintendo and Sega, who created consoles of their own. Nintendo and other companies drew criticisms for the content of their games, as well as the potential effect that their products could have on youth. Later on, we started to see games that drew on the popularity of the internet with a focus on multiplayer gameplay. Popular titles were massive multiplayer online games such as EverQuest, World of Warcraft, as well as first and third-person shooters like Halo 2 and Gears of War. In more recent years, with mobile technology, we've seen more people playing casual puzzle-like games. There's also a growing trend of esports where players are basically playing professionally with prize money, teams, news coverage, and a fan following.
As time has progressed, in my opinion, video games have gotten more graphic, violent, and realistic, with narratives, storylines, and effects that mimic the biggest Hollywood blockbusters. To get a sense about who gamers are, I decided to speak to some friends and family members, asking them the questions, who are gamers, and if they play games.
Well, my impression of gamers are people that are probably mostly 16 to 25 years old.
I think gamers are all ages.
I think I would have to say it's young people that maybe, or younger people that just don't have any responsibilities and it's more like a hobby for them.
Gamers are probably more of everyone than anyone ever thinks. It used to be the little kids, the little boys who are playing on their things, but now I think it's everybody who plays games to a varying degree. So I think it can be all ages and ranges of gamers.
I think the gamer term refers to more of the younger generation that would be consumed by video games.
My friends.
I think about people who are very invested and pay a lot of time and attention to that field, kind of like, I guess, a nerd almost.
Can be really anyone, adults, kids, young, old, male, female, could be really anyone.
Anywhere from my age and younger, older, I don't know.
See, it's funny because video games like the old days, I think Atari, right? But I do play games on my device all the time, so yes, I do.
From time to time, I play sports games pretty infrequently now.
Not really. I used to play my PS3 quite a bit. Used to play the NHL games a lot, but since I've had a child, I don't really play them anymore.
I play more older games like Nintendo, Sega Genesis, first PlayStation.
But once in a while I do pull out the N64 and still play that occasionally. Did that a couple months ago.
I had PS4 and stuff, but got rid of them because they're kind of too realistic these days.
I probably play about an hour a day, but not necessarily all at once. And word games like Scrabble or Words with Friends, things that are more like mind games, not, shoot 'em up, kill 'em games.
I would say it depends, but I would say I maybe play 3 or 4 times a week, maybe, on my phone.
My wife likes to play. some games on computers in the evening. You know, I'm watching TV and she's usually playing a word game, Scrabble or Wheel of Fortune or something on her iPad. So
the people who play games today are diverse. There are many people who live healthy, positive lives who play video games. Now we're going to take a look at some of the official stats from the Electronic Software Association about who plays games today.
In 2016, the average age of video game players was 35. 56% of game players were male, whereas 44% were female. In fact, there are significantly more women aged 18 and older who play games than males 18 and younger.
As I grew up, I always heard that video games were horrible for you. So I decided to do some research, see what was really going on.
There are a number of negative effects that have been associated with video game play. These include aggression, which was found by Craig Anderson and others in studies, addiction, that is being considered as a condition for further study by the American Psychiatric Association. There are also concerns about excessive screen time, which you are getting if you are playing games. Eric Sigmund writes that this has been associated with health, attention, and self-esteem problems.
Going along with the negative factors that we've already looked at, there's also the consideration of excessive or pathological use of video games. This is when you play in the neighborhood of 24 or more hours per week. This has been associated with attention deficit problems and poor school performance. When we think about all these negative factors associated with video game play, it seems like it's a pretty bad thing to do. The truth is, all of these negative things are disputed. Critics of the studies regarding video games and aggression say that there's not enough variables considered. There are academics who say there's no connection between video game play and bad school performance or social malbehavior. Excessive use. Think about it. If you're spending 24 hours a week outside of school, outside of work, doing any one thing, what are you missing? We need to be fair now and look at some of the benefits of gameplay.
If we want to keep looking at research, we can also find linkings between playing action, strategy, or puzzle games and cognitive and visual skill improvements. There are also academics such as James Paul G. who believe that playing massive multiplayer games such as World of Warcraft have benefits. These would include building mind simulations, distributed intelligence, cross-functional collaborations, and problem-solving strategies.
The research about the positive and negative effects of video game play is conflicting. You may be confused. Luckily, here are some tips for some healthy game playing habits.
According to experts Kelly Durkin and Gina Conti-Ramsden, the most recommended strategy for parents dealing with children who play games is constructive use. Constructive use means strategies of accommodating, supporting, and building on young people's activities with media, which would help reflect the child's developmental needs. This would promote social interactions between children and caregivers. Also, the Canadian organization Media Smarts makes several recommendations for parents about their children playing video games. These recommendations include thinking about children's interests, seeking advice from other parents, finding games that have appropriate age ratings, looking for games that are still challenging but are not violent, looking for games that have strong, non-sexualized female characters, choosing games that require strategy and problem-solving skills, and encouraging cooperative play.
Hopefully, these recommendations are helpful. Sometimes you need to make a tough choice, like moving a TV out of a bedroom or setting a time that you don't play games after. I know I had to set 10 p.m. as the time I wouldn't play games as I was becoming too wired to go to sleep. Allowing yourself or your children to play games is okay. Just remember to set reasonable limits like 1 to 2 hours a day and talk to your kids about the content of games. This is a fun and compelling activity that can be enjoyed in a healthy way.